Hello, welcome to the Dead Ringers dashboard. This is Mandy Hungerland, the COO here at Dead Ringers, and I'm really excited to introduce you to our new data platform. Now, in your email, you should have received a link that's going to send you to a login page. And on that login page, you're going to see Domo. Domo is our new data platform. That's what's hosting this data visualization. And so you're going to enter your email address and the login password that we've provided to you on that page. And once you click sign in, this is where you're going to land, your call performance summary. This page summarizes all of the data that we've collected thus far based on your phone performance. Now, there are buttons here on the side. I'm not going to touch those yet, but we're going to scroll our way down and I'm going to walk you through. Now, these light blue tiles are all filters. Some of them are going to be relevant for you, some of them are not. It just depends on the type of firm that you are. One that is certainly relevant for you is the call month. We make our calls on a monthly schedule, and so this should be really easy for you to be able to filter your data to the last month, last quarter, last year that you want to be able to see your data. Now, sometimes if you apply a filter, that means that your data is not going to populate effectively. And that's okay. All you need to do to remove a filter is just go back in, remove those, click apply, and now you've got a clean slate again. Your director filter will be management or regionals, whoever has been set up as the overseer of the project. And then the staff name is going to be the name of the professional that we speak with over the phone. And so that can be fun if you want to see how a specific portion of your team is performing. You can apply that filter here on this summary page and you'll see where everybody lands. Again, I'm going to clear that out so we can just see some overall test data as we continue walking down. Multiple locations, they will be listed here. And if you're doing a competitor analysis, you're going to want to look for yes under this filter so that you can view your competitors' scores. Your total score is the overall final score of all of your combined call data. So if we make 10 calls and they score across the board between 40% and 70%, we're going to mash all of those scores together, and this is the output of that. The national average currently is 54.7. Obviously, you're going to see that figure change over time as we're constantly calculating new national averages based on thousands of calls placed throughout the United States and Canada. This little percentage here shows how you're doing compared to the national average. The won calls and lost calls tiles, these are fun, but they are subjective, so keep that in mind as you're reviewing. The won calls revenue bucket, as I like to call it, is based off of whether our ringer marked that they would feel confident in using your firm based on their interaction with you over the phone. Now, if they do mark that they're confident in using your services and a amount is quoted during that phone call, that gets added to the won revenue bucket. Now, if they say, I would call other locations first, or a hard no, I would not feel confident in using this firm, then the amount quoted on that phone call gets added to the lost revenue bucket. Continuing down, and this is test data, so it's not populating the best, but on your dashboard, you're going to see an average ring time, average hold time, and average call duration. We want to see average ring times under 10 seconds when possible, average hold times under 30 seconds for sure, and average call duration somewhere around 3.5 to 6 minutes. Our category scores are split into two sections. The objective category scoring is based off of 60 plus metrics that we're tracking that are entirely fact-based, not opinion-based. And so these are broken out into 9 different categories from the beginning of the call before you even answer the phone all the way until the very end and the final impression. The impression category scores is our subjective data, and it has very little effect on your overall score, but we find that it's important to include the shopper's perspective so you can see how you're coming across to a consumer. And that category is split up into these 4 different subcategories so you can see exactly where you might be missing the mark. Continuing down, you're going to see a score trend. Now, if you've only worked with us for a month, you're going to see a couple of dots, and that is about it. If you've worked with us for a couple of months or longer, that's going to start being a little bit more informative. As I mentioned, we're looking at test data here, and so this is populating a little crazy. But what your goal is to see a small but extended increase over time. Coming down into our question highlights, what we're going to show here are specific metrics that we feel are really important for you and your firm. You're going to see names. Names are essential for personalizing the call. You're going to see a breakdown of your hold time so that you can target if you're reaching over 90 seconds. A follow-up plan, which includes creating expectations to continue a relationship with the caller after the call has been completed. Your accessibility, how easy is it to reach someone on the first attempt? Or do people have to make multiple calls in order to speak to somebody? And then desirability, which of course is on the subjective side of our metrics, but this feeds into the won or lost revenue, where our ringers mark whether they would feel confident in choosing your firm. And lastly, leading with the lowest cost. Now, this is not scored, but we feel that it's important to show you how often your team members are leading with low rather than aiming high and touting their value. And lastly, if you've got multiple locations, this metric will be pretty exciting for you, so you can see how different markets are performing. You'll have a list of multiple locations below, and you'll be able to see by state how you're doing. Coming down just a little further, we have the same buttons here as are at the very top. Go to Call Log or View FTC Audits. Going to Call Log first, and then we'll of course cover FTC audits at the end. The Call Log is really where the meat and potatoes is. It's where you're going to be able to listen to call recordings and review individual interaction results. And so one plug here, make sure that you're reading your instructions or taking notes as I'm talking right now so that you know how to navigate your call log effectively. Because as I'm going to point out below, there are certain things that just won't work unless you follow these instructions. Once again, we have our light blue filter tiles. You can use these to filter your call log so that you have a more manageable list of calls to dig into. And then our call log here, you have a blue column of call IDs. These are unique identifiers for specific calls. If you have questions on any of your calls, that's the number we're going to need to be able to see what you're seeing. You're also going to see calls listed by location, date, the professional that we spoke with, and their overall score. Coming down below, you're going to see exactly what I just mentioned, this call ID, and it says select a call ID in the call log above. This data does not populate unless you select a call from the call log. If you're seeing anything funky here, namely this message to select a call ID in the call log, That means you haven't selected a call yet, and nothing below this point is going to be populating effectively. In order to select a call, you're going to go to this blue tile, blue column, and select the call that you want to review. Note that you must click the blue field in order to select a call, because if you select anything else, what that actually does is add a filter rather than selecting a specific call instance. I know that's tricky, but just aim for the blue. Now, when I come below, I see a specific call ID that references a specific phone interaction. And now everything below this point is filtered to show me exactly what happened on this interaction. The Listen Here button is your call recording. If I click this, it shows me a recording of this telephone interaction. You'll be able to download it from here, adjust the playback, or just listen to it in your browser and X out of it as you don't need it anymore. We have some stats about this call: when it was placed, the location, who we spoke with, the overall score for this interaction, the value of that call, which means that there was a price quoted for services during this interaction, and whether that interaction was won or lost. It happens sometimes that you have a call that scores fairly well. This one is above the national average, but not quite to our benchmark of 70%, but the call is still lost. And sometimes that means, well, oftentimes it means that you're just not creating a genuine connection with your caller, which makes all the difference. As you continue objective scores, those same categories that are on the first page are listed here, but these scores are only for this phone call. I recommend clicking on a category to filter the questions below rather than trying to scroll through all of these and understand what you're looking at. You can select any of the categories and it will filter the question highlights accordingly so you can see exactly where you missed the mark and may need to apply training. Just click the category again to unfilter and continue. Keep scrolling down for the impression scores. Again, they have a very, very small impact on your overall score, but we find that they can be insightful and helpful as you're figuring out how you're coming across to the general consumer. So this section is filled out by our ringer while they're on the phone with you, rather than the objective side of things being filled out by our review team after the fact. Once again, click any of these to filter the questions below and review your responses. Click the category again to unfilter and continue. The final section here is the commentary section. The commentary, called impression comments, is filled out by our ringers while they are on the phone with you. So they're going to be extremely subjective. Think, I feel this, or I wanted this. Whereas the objective comments are going to be a little bit more of a play-by-play, as those are filled out by our reviewers after the fact as they're listening to your call recordings. That sums up the call log. Now let's chat about the FTC audits. Not everybody gets FTC audits. For cemeteries, obviously, those are non-essential. For combo locations or funeral homes, FTC audits may be relevant for you. Not all of our clients choose to get FTC audits. And so you may click this button and nothing will happen, and that is okay. That means that your firm has not selected FTC audits, or they're still in the works and we haven't released access yet. If you are an FTC audit client, then when you click this button, you'll be redirected to your FTC audit dashboard where you can view potential violations and address those with your team immediately. That is an overview of our new Dead Ringers dashboard. As always, please contact a member of our team if you have any questions. And thank you for partnering with Dead Ringers.